The old man lay stretched out beneath a light blanket, although the windows carried into his bedchamber the pleasant warmth of a late spring day. In a chair beside his bed sat his wife, Lady Isabel de Clare, nearly 30 years younger than her husband and deeply devoted to him. Lady Isabel had sent away the servants, and with her own hands lovingly served her husband wine and food from a silver platter. Seated a few feet behind Lady Isabel, Brother John, a monk from the local monastery, sat at a table that held paper, ink, and a quill pen. For Brother John was there not only to pray for the sleeping man, but also to write down his words during his waking hours. For the old man was Lord William Marshall, Earl of Pembroke, the most celebrated knight in Europe and a friend and advisor to kings. So it was no surprise when a high-ranking nobleman brought a message from King Henry III, saying, "We have commanded that prayers should be said on the Earl of Pembroke's behalf in all the churches of London." Having reported this great honor, the messenger left. Then the Earl told his wife, "His Majesty might have done better to come himself, since he, like his father before him, owes his crown and his very life to me. But kings and queens have short memories for such things. They prefer to think that God alone put them on their thrones." Glancing at the monk, Brother John, the Earl added, "Of course, God is responsible. Still, a little help from a strong sword arm can sometimes serve to support heaven's plans." Lord William Marshall knew a great deal about kings. He had served 5 of them, contributing unmatched battle skills and wisdom gained from experience, surviving in a time of treachery and war. Now he asked his wife, "Have you slept at all?" "I don't want to sleep," Lady Isabel said. "And I don't want to die. But ultimately, we each must give in." He looked at Brother John. "Now, good brother, what of my life have I not yet shared with you? If I should die before you have all my story, our son will be disappointed, since this was his idea. So let us review." As the monk began to read from his notes, Lord William lay back on his pillow and pictured the episodes from his eventful life. William Marshall was born in 1147, during one of a series of wars fought over who would rule Normandy in northwestern France and England. Such conflicts had been common since 1066, when an earlier Duke of Normandy had conquered England and taken the title of king there. William was a younger son of John Fitzgilbert, the marshal, or commander of the household troops, for one of the claimants to the throne, the self-declared King Stephen. As often happened in those days, John Fitzgilbert became known as John the Marshal, and eventually John Marshall. But King Stephen, whom he served, was too greedy and suspicious to fittingly reward even his most important, loyal followers. John Marshall told his wife, "Let us leave the court and go home to our castle." But King Stephen, worried that John Marshall might be planning to join Stephen's enemies, told John, "You must leave one of your sons here as a token of your loyalty." His meaning was clear. Should John Marshall change sides, he would never again see this son alive. So 5-year-old William Marshall remained behind. The king's actions had the opposite effect from what he had wanted. In anger, John Marshall joined the enemy. King Stephen's army soon surrounded John Marshall's castle. "Surrender," Stephen threatened, "or I will shoot your boy out of a catapult to his death." And John Marshall, standing atop his castle wall, watched as King Stephen ordered the innocent 5-year-old William to be set in the cup of the great catapult, a huge weapon designed to fling enormous stones against castle walls. There stood the little boy, hearing it all. But William neither cried nor begged for his life. He turned and silently looked Stephen in the eye. Stephen found himself admiring the boy's spirit, and to his own surprise, told his men, "Take him down from there. He shall live." And not long after, Stephen and his rival for the throne made their peace, and William went home safely. Now, all these years later, the elderly man who had been that boy remembered it all. Brother John asked, "How did you feel about this terrible incident, my lord?" The earl said, "Those were dark days. My father knew what his actions would mean to me, yet he betrayed me, while a king, and a bad king at that, saved my life on a whim. Even at that early age, I determined that I would have to depend on myself for my safety. Years later, when I experienced true loyalty, it meant everything to me. But don't write all that. Go on." For more titles from Jim Weiss and Well-Trained Mind Press, please visit us at jimweiss.com or welltrainedmind.com. Thank you for listening.